Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha Rakakwadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my elder as well, Aharawan Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Outwafim, and children that believe in truth and in sincerity. It's your brother Athan Allah back to another lesson, and Yahweh Ratazah is edifying. I want to go into a news article that the Bishop Kanak had put in the group chat. And it's titled, Graham warns Russian nuclear attack on Ukraine would be an attack on Nato. And we know, all right, those who are listening and learning, we know that Russia plays a big role in prophecy when it comes to World War III, the end of America, the end of this place, and them being raised up as the new hammer of the earth, as this hammer, America, Babylon the Great, is broken. The Lord is against them, being that they're still heathens, but he's with them to a certain extent. All right, they're a piece of the important piece pertaining to prophecy. But basically, NATO being created for the old Soviet Union, and Russia ultimately being revamped back into that mind state, that form again. All right, as the Cold War never ended. NATO still calling that their bluff is going to be found out very soon, because the Lord again is with Russia to a certain extent pertaining to Ezekiel chapter 38. But when you read the article, all right, NATO ultimately still with their bullying tactics, but again, Russia is not going to have it. It says Senator Lindsey Graham, a prominent Senate Republican defense hawk, warned Monday that a Russian nuclear attack against Ukraine will be viewed as an attack on NATO, even though Ukraine is not a member of the alliance. Right, because we know that was the whole issue of drawing Russia into war, because Ukraine is somewhat Russia backdoor, and Russia really and Putin don't want Ukraine to be of NATO alliance at all whatsoever. They're still the Russian people. So that's what you got going on right now. All right, the proxy wars and disputes that NATO, all right, this damn devil being the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, Esau Edom, using his agencies in NATO, all right, the military form, the teeth, to cause confusion and disrupt the earth, all right. But it says Graham delivered his warning after former Russian president Dmitry Medvedev said Russia would have to use nuclear weapons if Ukrainian forces threaten Russian territory. To my Russian friends who talk about using nuclear weapons in Ukraine, you need to understand that would be an attack on NATO itself, given Ukraine's proximity to NATO's territory, Graham tweeted, right? So they claiming about how they close to them, it's going to be an attack on us. They just ultimately want to involve themselves for an excuse to go to war. All right. War brings in the money, the bucks. All right. Ultimately, the sorcery of the Chaldeans, these upper elites, this is how they operate. They can care a damn about even their own people, to where they want to establish a new world order by any means necessary, because ultimately it's a fight against the Lord, all right? The Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son's coming, Yahweh Shai, all right, which is going to lead to the war in heaven, Revelation chapter 12. But it says, time to sober up. Realize that your barbaric invasion of Ukraine is not working. Withdraw and save many young Russians from pointless death, Graham said. Graham tweeted an article reporting on Medvedev's threat. Imagine if the offense, which is backed by NATO, was a success and they tore off part of our land. Then we would be forced to use a nuclear weapon. According to the rules of a decree from President of Russia, Medvedev said in an article, making a reference to Russian nuclear doctrine that would authorize a nuclear response if Russia's territory is threatened by a conventional attack. All right, so ultimately it's war talk, all right, the back and forth, all right. And it says what? This resolution is meant to send a message to Vladimir Putin and to his military. They will be destroyed if they use tactical nuclear weapons or if they destroy a nuclear plant in a way that threatens surrounding NATO nations. And then here's the end. Their resolution urges that the Biden administration to consult with NATO, right? Always implementing America, all right? The hammer that is broken, and that's where they're going to mess up, all right? Because that old game, all right, that old trick is not going to suffice, all right? The Lord is not with it. He's getting ready to cut them off. And this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Right. You know, the big bad wolf, the hammer of the earth, which hammered all these nations into their demonocracy. All right. How is that broken? All right. The nation that dropped the atomic bomb. All right. Big man and little man on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, which started the Cold War race, which ultimately led to what the nuclear arms race today, to where they're gonna, the Lord is gonna denuclearize the earth, man, through these nations. All right, he's setting up what Russia, all right, Gog and Magog, to lead the pack. So it says what? How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. The Lord hath opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. Right? It's the Lord weapons of his indignation. All right, he created the smith that bloweth the coal. All right, to create these Temanites, these German scientists, these to split the atom. All right, to make the atomic bomb, and to enforce their demonocracy and rule by the sword, man, throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, the Lord set that up. Ultimately, that was a snare for them. They didn't consider their latter end. That was unrighteous. That was carnal. That was a carnal way of living. All right. And that was ultimately a carnal way of living is a temporal way of living. All right. So the Lord hath opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh of hosts. All right. Hosts meaning armies. All right. For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Right? Those who dealing in sorcery, the Chaldeans dealing in sorcery and witchcraft, and they use America as a big beacon to what? They take the fatness of the earth, man. It says, verse 26, come against her from the uttermost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. All right, this is why the Lord is sending fanners to fan her, all right, to empty her land. Shall all her bullocks let them go down to the slaughter? Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. Right, the Lord is getting ready to cut this place off. All right, it's no longer going to be tender and delicate. All right, he's raising these other nations up to be in alliance, like Russia, China, these BRICS nations, to be in alliance, ultimately to be the new hammer of the earth, because the hammer is broken. All right, the old hammer, you can say. Verse 28, the voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord, our power. the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Right, today the modern day archers is those nukes that's go shoot off those silos. All right, and touch the heavens through satellites. All right, through technology. All right, the Lord's sword is going to be bathed in heaven, and it's not gonna miss their marks, man. They're gonna hit. All right, these nations got I believe Russia, they got all type of nuclear bombs. All right, with funny biblical names, you know, Satan 1, Satan 2, you know, things like that. Missiles that don't stop until it hit its mark. All right, because it's ran by AI technology. All right, through technology. But from there, I want to get the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and verse 1. Prophesy about Gog and future invasion of Israel. Right? Because not only this whole America is going to be invaded, ransacked, destroyed, but so is Jerusalem, the homeland, because that place has to be cleansed before the nation of Israel is set back up in it again. This is Ezekiel 38 and verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Right, so we're prophesying against Russia. You know, pro is before and Psi is to speak. So we telling Putin what's gonna happen, what is hey, and it's all designed by Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, knowing the secrets of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and being in the sheepfold, this is what we know. Those who are listening and learning. All right, the Son of Man set their face against Gog and Magog, right? Because the Lord is against Russia. All right, but they're the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. All right, that region over there in the Middle East of Iran, Turkey. I believe that's what, East Egypt. And say, thus saith the Lord God, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Right, so he's against Russia. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and will bring thee forth. Right, he's going to dictate what you're going to do. All right, Putin stated a while back that they were going to escalate to de-escalate war. No, you go do what the Lord tell you to do. And all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. All right, prepared for war. You go into the book of Joel, chapter 3. It speaks on how they go turn their agriculture into to things of war. All right, and that's ultimately what they was doing through the time of the Cold War, the nuclear arms race, which led into the nuclear arms race. All right, because is no time for agriculture. You got 3D printed meat and shit like that today, because all they have been doing is dealing with technology, robotics, and instruments of war. All right. Verse 5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All right. Just again, that Middle East region. All right. I believe that Persians, like, again, that eastern region over there in Iran. All right. Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomar and all his bands, the house of Togomar in the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Right. So we see those alliances of the BRICS nations and how what you got Russia, China, Iran, Syria, Saudi Arabia are part of the deal now. So it's all these alliances that's coming together. But the military might of it, the protection of it, is gonna be those Russians, man. Those Russian Edomites, man. Gog and Magog. Verse 7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right? See, they gonna be a protection, a guard unto them. All right, you can look at China being the financier, the European Union part of the new system, beast-like system, and Russia is the NATO, the military might, the teeth of the new system. All right, the new hammer that the Lord is against, but he's establishing against America, all right, against Babylon the Great. This is Ezekiel 38:8. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter days thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations. You know, we know mountains to be governments, all right, which have been always waste. All right, we know that they're not the real true biblical people. They're not the Jews that the Bible speak of, according to Revelation chapter 2 and 9, 3 and 9. All right, that's just referring to our 2/3 of our people, but we use it against the fake Jews because it's fitting, because they ran into that land posing to be the children of Israel after the Holocaust and the Belfort Declaration. All right, right into a demon named Lord Rothschild. All right, a Chaldean, so to speak. In the 1948 was the Belfort Declaration declared. All right. This is verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, and shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushai, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Right, and that's America. All right, the unwalled villages that don't have no real defense system. All right, I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them. This is verse 11, Salakia. All of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, man. And today, all right, versus what like ancient Babylon, all right, today is not having no bars and gates when it comes to that the lack of a real defense system. All right, they're not really equipped to go to war, man. To end the Cold War off with a bang, so to speak. All right, the Lord have striven against them, man. He set a trap and they're caught. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. All right, so all that woofing at the bear and poking the bear, he go eventually wake up. And the bear ultimately represents Russia. All right, meaning enough. And this is Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, man. Right, so yeah, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, man. Putting that agriculture, all that funding and financing of agriculture and making, they wasn't trying to make quote unquote Russia great again because they didn't have to. All right, they stayed true to their ways, but America trying to make America great again. All right, because they was dibbling and dabbling and everywhere, being a busybody, all right, amongst all the other nations to where they didn't keep at home, man. They're not prepared now, all right, when it comes to war. There's swords and spears. They're not prepared at all on neither side, man. 3D meats, all right. The agriculture is cursed, and if they get into World War III, they're gonna fall, man. Thus saith the Lord, man, according to prophecy. All right, but that's what we're hoping for, and that's what we hastening and looking for. All right, a World War III kicking off, Jacob's trouble getting to its peak. All right, but just going back to that article. All right, how they always put America in the business. Their resolution urges the Biden administration. What the hell Biden administration go do? to consult with NATO allies and European partners to develop a comprehensive response to minimize the threat to civilians posed by a nuclear attack in Ukraine or near European borders. Right, it's just all a game to draw those who are affiliated and tied in, all right, to war. All right, but again, even the allies of Americans go turn against them, man. Whereas what the 10 shall hate the whore. And that's how the Lord is setting it up, man. He's setting up the chess pieces in order. And Shalom Habatah DTA until the next one.